Absolute Killer Croc is absolutely terrifying, and we've got the origin of Absolute Bane. Let's get into it. What's up, my comic comrades? Today we're finally getting back to the Absolute Batman title with issues 10 and 11. And we're pretty excited too because these issues are freaking nuts. Like I said, we're introduced to Absolute Killer Croc in issue 10, and then in issue 11, we finally get the origin of Absolute Bane. So let's get right into it and see what happens. Also, we're curious about which Absolute title has been your favorite so far. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, or Martian Manhunter. They've all been cooking, but we want to see which is dominant, so give us your vote down in the comments. Okay, so for those of you who may not remember, at the end of issue 9, Bane completely manhandled Batman, taking him out with a few defensive blocks that made Batman's limbs go numb before knocking him out and holding him in the air by his head with just one hand. He then tells Batman, "Call me Bane. Welcome to your new home. Now let's get you prepped for surgery." So Batman is now being held captive in Arc M, and that's exactly where issue 10 picks up. On the first page, we see Jim Gordon talking to Martha Wayne saying, "Mar, it's only been a few days." Maybe. She then interrupts saying, "He's my son, Jim. I know him. And something's wrong. I can feel it." We are then taken to Arc M, where a doctor says, "Begin doctor's log, reporting on test subject 27. Having Bruce be subject 27 might be an Easter egg by Scott Snyder, as Batman first appeared in Detective Comics 27. And Bruce, Batman, is subject 27. So there may be a connection there. Anyway, the doctor's log continues to say, "Sedated, male presented at 6 foot 9 inches, 421 pounds. 6 staff members were required to carry him in. 1 back injury occurred. Removal of costume triggered a series of homemade booby traps, numerous injuries incurred. Once fully stripped, scans showed further contraband hidden throughout his body. After multiple surgeries, staff is now confident all objects have been extracted. Items confiscated include tear gas pellets, sedative pellets, hallucinogenic pellets, a full lockpick kit, blow darts, finger blades, push daggers, trench daggers, various throwing knives, and 1 large spike war club, collapsible. Subject remains under heavy sedation. All data suggests he'll remain incapacitated for at least 48 hours. End doctor's log. As we see on the very last panel of the page, Bruce wakes up. We then get a 2-page spread of Killer Croc inside of his egg, and he's massive. From here, we're taken back to Bruce in his cell, where we see him get up and pull a metal pick from inside his mouth, telling us they didn't get everything Bruce was hiding in his body. Bruce then uses the pick he's just pried from his gums to pick the door and escape, and keep in mind, Bruce is butt naked this entire time. Once free from his cell, he starts making his way through the facility, where he passes a bunch of strange experiments, like a gigantic egg that we can only assume is the egg Killer Croc is being created in. As Bruce is sneaking out, the doctor begins to do her log again, saying, "Begin doctor's log. Subject has escaped his environment and is currently at large. Initial visuals placed him in the Southwest Complex. Current sweeps have him somewhere in transmutation and plasticity, possibly en route to the clay biome." Meaning this is the Absolute Universe version of Clayface, as we see Bruce accidentally start walking on Clayface, which apparently seems to be a bunch of people who have been experimented on merging together in horrific clay. As Bruce accidentally steps on one of them, they say, "It hurts. It hurts so bad." They then start to grow arms and grab him. Yeah, this is true grotesque body horror at its finest. Bruce then yells at them saying, "Get off." But Bane arrives saying, "Hello again." Bruce then looks up saying, "You," as Bane knocks Bruce out with a single punch. The doctor's log then says subject 27, apprehended by the Prime, will need infirmary stay before return to his environment. End doctor's log. As Bane looks at the unconscious Bruce, he says, "Keep trying, please." We then get a flashback of Bruce training his buddy Waylon, who's a boxer getting ready for his fight with Bibbo, one of the best boxers in the sport. They even end up watching Bibbo's most current fight on TV, as Ozzy says, "He looks pretty big and he looks pretty fast." As everyone says, "Shut up, Ozzy." Waylon is nervous enough as it is about his upcoming fight with him. We're then brought back to Martha, who's at the district attorney's office with Harvey Dent, as she tells him it's been over a month. Harvey says, "The DA's office is doing everything I can, Martha, I swear." She asks, "Then where the hell is my son, Harvey? Where?" From here, we see Bruce back in his cell as the doctor begins her log again, saying, "Report on subject 27 at the 45-day point. For a short period after recovering from his encounter with the Prime, he remained combative, staying active, clearing guano from the floor, and generally maintaining his environment. However, by 20 days in, like subjects 4, 6, 10, 11, and 21 before him, he seemed to accept his situation, becoming docile. Then despondent. By 30 days in, he refused to eat, so a feeding tube was inserted into his stomach. Since then, he has barely moved, even when staff has gone in to clean his port. It's the staff's diagnosis, therefore, that subject 27 has finally fallen into total submission. End doctor's log. But the doctor would be wrong, because once the staff enter to change his feeding bag, Bruce gets up and starts fighting them, kicking one straight in the head as the doctor realizes Bruce was putting on an act. And he did so in order to prepare for another aggression. The doctor goes on to say data suggests he extracted a number of his own teeth, a mix of incisor and premolars, to use for manual combat. As we see, Bruce freaking took out his own teeth, then taped them to his fists to use as spikes of sorts to punch people with. But it gets crazier. The doctor even says that subject 27 also managed to adjust his feeding tube to gain access to his own raw stomach acid, at which point he takes the tube, squeezes it, and shoots the acid on one of the staff members' face, burning him. The doctor then says, but perhaps most impressive was what he did with his latrine. After collecting a large amount of guano inside and then urinating on it for weeks, subject 27 was able to create a highly flammable compound, not unlike gunpowder, which he then used to explode the wall of his cell and escape again. We then see Bruce once again running by the gigantic Killer Croc egg, but this time it's cracked open with nothing inside, telling us Croc is now free. Once Bruce is running in the halls of Arkham, he starts yelling, "Go to hell, you hear me?" He then tries to escape and ends up in the Isley ecosystem, the poison ivy of this world, or at least where she will come from, as we see living trees with eyes and teeth and a humanoid plant monster or monsters with vines starting to attack Bruce, as one of them says, "Stay out. The green wants out. Let us out." But once again, Bane arrives saying, "Hey there," while tearing the plant monster off of Bruce, as the plant monster is literally shoving its tongue inside of Bruce's mouth and trying to tear out his eyeball. But once Bane gets the creature off of him, he yet again with a single punch takes out Bruce while saying, "So close. Don't give up, please," as Bruce is sent to the infirmary once more. After this, we get another flashback of Bruce watching reels of Bibbo on his computer to study his moves to help Waylon train, as Selena Kyle is like, "Yeah, but you need to help me go steal some stuff." And he's like, "No, I can't. I'm studying to help Waylon," but she says, "You have to tell Waylon." He's like, "That he doesn't have a chance?" "I can't. It'll crush him." She replies, "Crush him worse than Bibbo?" He replies, "I'm his best friend." Then before leaving by herself, she says, "And cheering him on some death spiral isn't being his friend. You need to tell him the truth after we do this," suggesting she's convincing him to go. We then see Bruce's mom is still looking for him, literally posting missing signs of him all over Gotham. We're then brought back to Bruce, where we see he's been experimented on by Arkham. As the doctor's log reads, day 91, subject 27 continues to show remarkable resilience. After 2 weeks of surgeries, he has managed to survive the full cycle, unlike all 26 subjects before him. While there were multiple incidences when the staff thought he would expire, 27 continually recovered. As of this recording, sutures and grafts are all holding. His vitals are stable. 27's body is ready. All that remains is for him to finally surrender in spirit. The excitement among the staff is palpable, the belief that he has been broken. The Prime is more judicious, as am I. He suggested we test 27 one more time as we see them lower Bruce's suit into the cell so he could suit up and try to escape yet again. And let me tell you something, now that Bruce has his bat suit back on, he's pissed, because once he suits up, he literally runs through the wall. He then passes the Langstrom experiment, which we could only assume is Man-Bat, before making his way to a bunch of creatures that block him as they start saying, "Help us." Batman just looks at them saying, "I don't know how." They say, "Then make it stop," essentially asking for Batman to kill them, putting them out of their misery. At which point, Bane shows up again saying, "There you are," kicking Batman in the face while saying, "I knew you had one more in you." Bane continues his rampage saying, "We're more alike than you know, friend. I'm trying to save you the pain I went through. It'll take more pain now, but you'll thank me in the end, I promise." As he punches Batman into Killer Croc's habitat where the broken egg is. The doctor's log then says we'll need extensive infirmary stay before returning to his environment. As Bane says, "Forgive my crude translation, but there's a saying I find useful. It's not the strongest or most intelligent of us who survive this war called life, but instead the most adaptive to." And before he could say change, Killer Croc comes jumping out of his habitat as Bane shattered the glass, punching Batman into it. Killer Croc then tail whips Bane on top of several of the staff members. And remember, since Bane is like 3 stories tall and probably over 1,000 pounds, he crushes them when he lands on them. He quite literally squashes them like bugs, and they show it, which is gross yet awesome. Some of the surviving staff members then say, "He fell on them. I think they're," but when someone the size of a small building falls on you, you're not surviving. But those surviving staff members soon meet their bitter end when Killer Croc sees them and eats them both in one bite. Batman, who's watching all this, says, "Waylon?" As Killer Croc turns around and stares at Batman, Bruce says, "It's me, Bruce." Killer Croc and/or Waylon then gets super close to Batman's face, even grabbing him by the neck, as we get a flashback of Bruce talking to Waylon saying, "Of course I believe you could win. You're Waylon Croc Jones. Now let's get the hell back in the ring," as on the next page we see Batman riding Killer Croc like a dragon. Let me tell you, this Killer Croc looks insane. He's huge, lanky, and super intimidating, and the way they did his teeth, where they basically go all the way down his neck, with his head being a skull on the tip of his head or whatever it's called, is all kinds of creepy. And on the final page of the issue, we see Bane getting up saying, "I was sane. It's not the strongest or the most intelligent of us who survives this war called life, but the most adaptive to change." Batman then says, "Shove it up your ass," as Batman escapes Arc M on top of Killer Croc. The Doctor log then says, "Subject 27 continues to exceed expectations, just as the Prime and I predicted. He and Mutation 523 are fleeing to the sewer." End Doctor's log. The Doctor then walks up to Bane saying, "Excited for the final phase?" Bane replies, "Very excited, Dr. Arkham, because now I truly get to break him." And just like that, the comic ends. Yeah, that was one hell of an issue, and you can't tell me that Killer Croc isn't going to haunt your dreams. Anyway, now on to issue 11. The issue starts off with Alfred narrating, telling Bruce, "I should have warned you. I tried. I almost managed it. We were in the Batmobile crossing the bay to that terrible place, and I started to tell you about him. But when you turned to me, I just froze and wished you good luck instead. Good luck like an old fool. The truth is, I was afraid. Maybe of just naming him, making him real, conjuring him up. But now he's here, and he's coming for you at this very moment. Wherever you are, kid, I'm sorry. This is what I should have told you that night. It's the story of Bane and how he breaks your back." We then get a 2-page spread of a man in a white hat surrounded by women in bikinis watching a city on fire. After this, Alfred continues to narrate, giving us the story of Bane, saying, "It begins on an island called Santa Presca. A boy is born. The boy's father is a rebel leader. His group has been fighting for Santa Presca's freedom for over 100 years. His grandfather led it, then his father, and now him. The group's flag shows Santa Presca's national bird, the royal quetzal. And one day soon, the boy's father tells him, when we have one piece, that bird will fly free. Can you see it, my boy? The boy answers, yes, father, I see it. However, one night the boy eats some cohoba seeds in hopes of seeing his father's vision. He stares at the flag, but instead of seeing the quetzal, he sees a terrible bird, white and burning with a back like a skull, as he wakes up screaming. Years pass and the boy studies and trains, and they make inroads under his planning. On Tuesday, they take the city capital. They hold it for 3 days. The moment is here, says the father. But on the 4th day, foreign troops are sent in and the rebellion is crushed. The surviving members of the rebellion are sentenced to life in the Penadoru, an infamous prison of Santa Prisca's coast. The boy and father among them. Every night the cold tides flood the cells to the very top, forcing the inmates to fight for small gasping breaths among the dead things washing in and out. The boy learns to sleep hanging from the cage roof. He learns to pick jigger fleas from his skin in the morning. He eats rats for sustenance, and one day a computer is smuggled in. A picture of an actual quetzal is pinned to the screen, and the boy is horrified at how the small bird is weak looking. Years pass and the book brings us to present day Gotham, where Bane has arrived and is rampaging through the streets, killing officers left and right. We're then immediately brought back to the past again, where Alfred continues narrating, saying, after 11 years in the infamous prison, the boy, a man now, and the other fighters put a plan in motion. The plan worked, and they were able to escape the prison as they stormed the beach. It's only when they secured the boats that they looked up. None have seen the sky for over a decade. As they climb inside, the boy's father gives him something, a mask made of the flag itself. He tells his son, you are the quetzal, my son. You are the bird of our vision. Today is the day, as Bane puts on his infamous mask for the very first time. As they cross the bay, all they can think about is the fighting ahead. He has multiple strategies to take the beach and the capital. But as they near the shore, the boy sees no tanks, no troops, just a man in white standing in the sunshine with girls in bikinis around him. As the man says, welcome home, calling the boy by his name. The man then says, I have an offer for you. As we can clearly tell, this is the absolute Joker, as he's wearing all white with a fedora that has a purple accent around it. From across the beach, the boy's father watches as the son talks with the strange man. Maybe it's his grin or the way he jokes with the boy, but never laughs. Again, clearly telling us this is Absolute Joker, as we know Bane works for him, and this is how that started. Alfred continues narrating, saying, the women with him too. The father could swear he sees things moving in their bellies. The father is just about to intervene when the boy abruptly ends the conversation. Whatever the man was offering, it's over. And with that, the man in white smiles, tips his hat, and leaves as he pats Bane on the chest. Then on the very next page, the man in white, or the Joker, boards the helicopter with the women. Bane's dad then goes to hug Bane, and he reciprocates by crushing his father to death, telling us that whatever the man in white or the Joker was offering him was accepted, as he turned on his father. From here, we see Alfred say, "This is where the true records of him start. A diplomat's plane explodes. A journalist's throat is slit in Dubai. Pirates are slaughtered in the shipping lanes in the Red Sea. This is where the figure known as Bane emerges. A shape forming, the constellation drawn between us unsolved murders. A bird in the shape of a skull, its tail made of teeth." Alfred goes on to say, "Our intel suggests that the venom running through his veins is a mixture of acids, proteins, and compound activators. They give him total control of his own muscles. His very cells bend to his will. But even more astounding is the way it enhances his mind. Before, there was only so much he could learn, but suddenly he could hold books, whole libraries in his head. Every method of fighting he knows, every weapon he knows, every battle from ancient times to now he knows. From the strategies of the Sumerian warrior kings to the most current algorithmic doctrine. And he is here for you, Bruce. He could be right outside your door at this very moment." As we see, he is indeed outside his very door saying, "It's time, little one." Let's pause for a second, because how crazy is this? Not only does this version of Venom make him like 3 stories tall and the strongest version of Bane we've ever seen, but it also gives him a photographic memory. He's like a living computer. Anything he reads or sees is stored in his brain, which is a really cool way of making this Bane extremely intelligent. Because in the normal continuity, Bane is already extremely intelligent, but this is taking that to another level. This is making him essentially a supercomputer. Anyway, we then see Batman charge Bane as the two begin to fight, with Alfred saying, "I know you by now. You will not back down. You'll have a plan just like the plan he drew up when he was a boy back in Santa Prisca. A plan based on your knowledge of this place, because this is your home, Gotham, as the island was his. So fight him." And Batman does exactly that, but needless to say, yet again, like the several other times he fought Bane in issues 9 and 10, it does not go well for Batman. In fact, Bane takes Batman's battle axe and chops off his mother freaking arm, holding it in the air for Batman to see. But it doesn't end there. As Batman's crawling away, having just lost his arm, Bane follows him and uses the axe to chop off his other arm. Batman's now sitting there on the ground, bleeding out with both of his arms gone, able to do nothing, as Bane breaks the handle off Batman's axe, then uses the blade or the bat symbol to smash Batman's head in repeatedly. Now, Batman would have certainly died if not for this being part of Bane's plan. You see, Bane brought him to the brink of death only so he could bring him to Dr. Arkham, who then does surgery on Batman, much like she did to Bane all those years ago. Surgery no one else could make all the way through but Bane. The comic even says others such as KG Beast and Deathstroke went through the same surgery, but couldn't survive through the full process. Bane was the only one. However, KG Beast and Deathstroke still transformed into something new. With that said, Batman, much like Bane, will make it through the full procedure, as we see them bring a mask down on his face with red eyes and attach a giant gauntlet to his arm. Then on the very next page, we see they turn Bruce into a Batman Bane of sorts. It looks absolutely insane, and I'm so curious to see how Bruce gets out of this. And does this mean that he's always going to have Venom now and be extremely strong, being like the strongest version of Batman ever? I have no clue, but I'm excited to find out, and he looks awesome. He's wearing a modified Bane mask with bat ears and glowing red eyes. We also learn that Bane has a wife and kids that he visits every now and then while mourning his father's grave. Then on the very last page of the issue, we see Bane going after Bruce's childhood friends, Harvey, Edward, and Oswald, as he knows the real way to break Bruce is by breaking the ones he loves. And with that, the issue ends. But there you have it, guys. Issues 10 and 11 of Absolute Batman. These two issues were absolutely crazy. I am loving everything Snyder is doing with this series. The new Killer Croc looks incredible. I'm curious to see if he pops up again. I'm sure he will. And now Batman is kind of sort of Bane, but for Gotham. He looks like a Terminator Bane Batman. I love it. Either way, I cannot wait for issue 13 to drop to see where this goes. But what about you guys? Are you digging this series like I am? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Other than that, we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.